Welcome to the Eat, Play, Love Summer Series. I'm Sandra Leah, Director of Education and Patient Advocacy at Obesity Matters. Meet my co-host, Rachel Atkins.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel, Director of Strategy with Obesity Matters.
Obesity Matters is a nonprofit organization for people living with elevated weight and obesity. It was formed by patient advocates whose focus is to provide evidence-based education and advocate for public policy and environmental changes that enable well-being. If we can do that, we are one step closer to the acceptance and inclusion of millions of people in larger bodies. Obesity is a real medical condition. We hope that this knowledge empowers you to release any shame or guilt you may be carrying. There are many contributing factors outside of your control that cause obesity. We here at Obesity Matters are bringing together a community of seekers, just like you, open to finding a solution aimed at healing the mind, body, and spirit. Together, we'll create a community of enlightened and connected people who nourish, love, and accept our bodies. To get connected, please visit our website at obesity-matters.com. The first half of this episode is the interview, and then we turn the spotlight on you to address your questions and comments in a safe and supportive environment. At today's session, our topic is Move with Confidence with our guests, Dr. Ravi and Samir. So I would like you both, Ravi and Samir, to introduce yourselves. Go ahead. Do you want to start, Samir?
Sure. Hey guys, very nice to see you today. I'm Samir. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Anuka Health. We are building a personalized exercise and wellness platform for people living with chronic pain, but also with an intention to manage their weight. And our platform is virtual and digital, and we give access to a personal health coach who is able to guide you and attain certain health goals that you have in your mind.
Over to you, Ravi.
Hi, so nice to see everybody. Thank you for having me on. I'm one of Anuka Health's advisors. I'm a physician by training, but really have a focus in prevention and digital health.
Great. I hear that you want to get everybody standing and moving. So let's do it.
Yes. I think it's a very simple shoulder stretch to start off with.
All right, everybody, let's get up.
So let's just get up for a second.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think we're up.
All right, so stretch your arms like the Christ. Pull them back.
Oh,
you might hear a pop if you're sitting for too long. And stretch as far as you can. Make sure you're holding it like this at the back so that there we go. And then move your neck up and down, up and down, sideways. That's it.
Oh, wonderful. You know, Samir, I tend to start most of my meetings when I'm leading them with a stretch because I want people to feel how your body can come alive, how it can center you and energize you, sometimes more than coffee. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Actually, this coincided with my stretching time, so I had to make everybody else participate in this.
That's a little selfish. Well, not really. I actually feel like when I do move, what I really appreciate from that is I start to think about my breathing and I feel like I'm breathing better. So Samir, we hear that you have an app called Anuka. So could you tell us a little bit about that and why you started it?
Absolutely. So first things first, Anuka is actually Sanskrit for spine. So it is a word that we took it from old Vedic literature. And we realized that, with our current lifestyle and current ways of living, we are putting a lot of strain on our spine. And really, I started Anuka for my parents, more or less, because My father lives with knee and hip osteoarthritis. He's diabetic. He has multiple conditions. And my mom lives with sciatica. So, and I live away from them. And we wanted to have a platform that is able to take care of them and also is engaging enough for us to be able to, see how they're doing and how well their health is managed. And that was basically the beginning of Anuka. And we did a lot more research on, how movement has a lot of positive impact on a person's life. Because when I move, when I exercise, I'm thinking about canoeing, hiking, backpacking, and those experiences are really great. And that's what drives me to move. So, and this is what we wanted to give to everybody, the gift of moving and happiness.
Yeah. And right now, there is very much a status quo when managing chronic disease and chronic pain. Can you tell us a little bit about status quo and what would happen if we don't challenge the status quo?
I would pass that to Ravi before responding on that.
Sure.
Can you repeat that question really quick?
For sure. Right now there's a status quo when dealing and when trying to treat chronic pain and chronic disease. And if we stay on that trajectory of status quo, what's the future going to look like? And for those of us who don't know what the status quo is, could you describe what it's like currently to treat chronic pain and chronic disease?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. It's not sustainable, is it? I mean, living a life where we have systems in place that can catch us when we fall is good. It's good to have these things from a policy level and an individual level. That's good. But what we're really trying to do is make ourselves strong enough to where we don't have to fall, right? So I think you can think about this from either a proactive standpoint or reactive standpoint. And we live in a really reactive system. That is the status quo. It's like we do these things that aren't as healthy as they could be, and then we wait for things to go wrong and then have a freak out, right? Where that's a really expensive and bad way to do things. What if we change that to be a little bit more proactive from the beginning and start avoiding those bad exits on the highway, if you will, down the line?
That makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah, sorry, Samir, did you have something to add to that?
Definitely. I mean, I think the healthcare system and the way we approach ourselves as people, the way we approach healthcare is that we want painkillers. And we generally don't tend to think how we ended up there and how long it took us to end up there. And that takes probably the same or more amount of time to be fixed.
Yeah,
and we want a very quick fix. And it's also partly driven by our consumption for convenience economy.
absolutely. Right. Like you're talking about behavior change. I find that that's one of the hardest things to change is what we do on a regular basis. And especially if we've done that over many years. So Ravi, what is it about platforms like Anuka that really help us to make those behavior changes that are very difficult?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's funny. This whole area of things like exercise can be so difficult to navigate, right? Just do a Google search and there's like a million different plans and they all have these different videos and programs where people are jumping around in leotards. It's a little bit intimidating almost. It's like, I can't do that yet. And a lot of people I know aren't that physically fit. And it seems like an unrealistic expectation for me to even get there. And it's so overwhelming. I'm just like, ugh. I'd rather just sit down and go watch an episode of Friends on Netflix or whatever. So I think a solution that can go a little bit slower, a little bit more personalized, be convenient to where you need to exercise in a way that works for you, where you can start building this like a skill tree. Like you don't have to start the day tomorrow by doing 30 minutes of active cardio. Let's just start with walking first. Right? Let's take these small steps. Like everything we've done in our lives, everyone on this call has done this before in their life. They've learned something that they were uncomfortable with learning before. You're good at something. When you look back at how you got good at it, that's how, right? You took these small steps, you failed along the way, you got back up and you kept going. It's a skill. That's how you learn any skill. And exercise and movement is a skill like anything else, like piano or learning a new sport. So I just think a solution that meets you where you are, helps you learn those skills slowly, and that isn't overwhelming is something that could be really useful for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point because most of us only observe the end goal, right? So the people who get the
Yes.
most attention are the ones who are running the back-to-back marathons, have, an 8-pack, and we see the end goal and we think, but why can't I do that? But nobody shows the progression to get there. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I went through a lot of weight issues during my adolescence and early adulthood. And the way I used to approach it is, no, why should I look at somebody else? Despite all these issues, I can go for a 30-kilometer hike and not get tired. I basically rafted through a part of the Grand Canyon. It's just, you have to map yourself back to an activity that you love to do. And that just makes you feel happy, because we are social creatures. We like to move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but the statements out there is no pain, no gain, right? And that's, I think, a fallacy.
I mean, even hopping on a canoe and listening to the birds sing and rafting down is a form of exercise for both your body and your mind.
And I like what you said there, Sandra, about the pain. I think if I can make a comment there that I think would be useful, there's this issue of pain and discomfort, right? And when people are exercising, and we've all been in this situation where we have soreness and pain, but there's a difference. And I say discomfort almost is what I need a little bit of. I can take it in little spurts and I can push through discomfort because I will get more comfortable with practice. Pain, I don't push through. So pain is something I try to avoid, but discomfort I actually think can be a good thing when we're learning new things. So it's like really trying to hit that balance of pain and discomfort, and that's hard to do alone.
It really is. You need that motivation. And
yes.
For me, I find the idea of celebrating, when I have moved as well, is something that's really important to me. So that I recognize and I acknowledge that I did move. That was very healthy, and then it makes me want to do that again. And so I also understand, Samir, that you have a program coming up. It's called Move with Confidence. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we are launching a very limited access Move with Confidence program, and it's going to be for 3 months. And whoever is going to be part of this program will be given a personal coach, so they can work with them on what kind of exercises are best suited for them and their abilities. And the most important thing is that, we also look for a certain level of health goal or a functional goal that they want to attain in those 3 months time span, a reasonable one, and we'll help them get there. And we have worked with people in the past who have knee and hip pain, people who have lower back pain. And one of the women that we have worked with, she wanted to go and walk for a Freely Flower Show for like 2.5 miles, and we helped her get there. So I think it's a goal that we can help you attain. And we want you to join the program.
Is that directed to me? Because I feel like I could use something like this. So maybe.
Well, we want all of you to join the program.
I have a bit of a challenging question then to add to that. When I heard the name of the program, I was kind of thinking, would this be something for someone like me? Because I have a mindset around movement and exercise that, it's not something that I look at in a way that I'm excited to do it. So, how is this program for individuals like that? And what is it about the program itself that actually inspires you to want to move if you're someone that really kind of feels like you wouldn't enjoy that?
Yes. So what inspires you to move is, like, first thing we try to identify is what are the barriers you have towards movement. And the next thing we also look for is previously, what were you able to do that made you happy? So we had a woman, she wanted to hike, and that's an activity she really loved doing. But over the years, life happened, and that was not possible anymore. And then she also got diagnosed with knee arthritis that slowed her down even more. So the problem was not arthritis. The problem was actually the mindset itself that was caused by pain and her own personal situation. So we identified those indicators to come up with something that works for you.
That sounds really interesting. I like that approach. Are you able to actually demo the app for us?
I have a few slides. I can walk you through
Okay.
how the experience is going to look like.
Great.
Let me just pull it up. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes. Maybe you can put it in full screen mode.
Yes, that's where I'm going for. How about now?
Perfect.
All right. So when we started Anuka, we had 3 ground rules, and I would also give a lot of credit to Ravi because he also helped us formulate this. And one thing is that it should be easy to get started. Then you need to be able to share accountability with another person. Most of the digital health platforms, you don't share accountability with anybody. Here is an app, you download it, you install it, and then plop, 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 plop. You enter some stuff. It doesn't mean anything to you after a while. But if you share the accountability with another person, the other person can be a coach. And over the next few months, we're also working out a few ideas on how to make it more interactive between 2 individuals and not just a coach and a person. And the most important of all is making it fun. Because right now, the way we approach health is like we don't make it fun. We make it like do this or else. So it's very simple. When you get started, you'll meet with the coach, you'll fill out like a baseline assessment, and you'll have about roughly 45 minutes to talk to the coach, understand what are the barriers you have towards exercise, understand what kind of exercises you're able to do and what sort of goals you have and all of that. And once we set up the program, you can get started. And if you notice, your coach will always send you some sort of a personalized message. You should do this or do this. You should try this. This is good for you. You should try these things. So there's always some sort of a personalized message. You can also communicate back with your coach. For example, you can see my pain has increased doing this, or maybe you need some feedback on form. So why not ask them, right? And you can just keep track of what your goals are. Like this month, this is my goal. This is my goal for the long term. So these goals are actually taken from another participant we have. She's 70 years old. She lives in a small town in South Dakota of 700 people. And her goal was like, I need to be able to put on my swimsuit so I can go for snorkeling. Okay, your first goal is you need to regain strength and balance in your feet so you can actually put those pants. She has ankle arthritis, so it's difficult for her to stand up. And she's 70 years old. And then the long-term goal was like, no, I want to be able to go for snorkeling. Because now once you put on the pants, you're back to that movement that makes you feel happy.
I love it. That's a great story.
And the other way we also keep you accountable is like sending bi-weekly challenges, like, go through this challenge. Like the coach wants to see if you're making progress so that they can actually improve you and upskill. So you see, right? You always have access to a person at all times. And we also have something new that we are working on. This is partnered exercising. So instead of us talking, we'll be exercising to a class, or we'll make it more interactive to show you can exercise with your friend or a colleague, you can learn some new moves with them, or you can just exercise by following a class like Pilates or yoga. We always curate those classes based on the skill levels and abilities of people. So yeah, that's basically what we're trying to say. Sign up to the program. Let's have a chat. Let's see if this is what you would like to do. And this is the website and everything. I'll share all the materials to Preeti so that they're all available after the talk today. And more importantly, it's a limited access program because we want to give the best experience to a few people to start with, and then open it up for a lot more people later.
Thank you. Thank you for that tour. I think that really brings it to life. And, the idea of exercise and movement is so important, even with obesity. What we know is that if somebody is living with obesity and elevated weight, but they are active and they are moving, that the health risks are considerably mitigated. And also when we talk about aging, like I love that example of a 70-year-old woman, and we forget that balancing to put on a bathing suit can be really difficult, but especially if you're dealing with arthritis of the ankle. And so I once heard that a great way to ensure you're going to have a fantastic old age is flexibility. Is there any truth to that? Mm-hmm.
I would pass this to Ravi. He's the most experienced person to answer on this.
Yeah, Sandra, you're absolutely right. And I think you intuitively can come to the answer that should be correct. And that definitely is correct. Working with people who are, older, who they have a different set of challenges. And me too, I've noticed, I just look young. Trust me, I'm older than I look. But I'm even noticing a different set of challenges that I have to go through too. Things that I would take for granted, and even like recovery period from exercises are a little bit different, right? But things like buttoning a shirt can be challenging for some people when you have hand arthritis, right? And that's something, or preparing food for yourself, reaching up in the kitchen, opening a cabinet and getting some bowls down, picking up your grandkids from the ground, playing golf like you used to. These are these things that really matter to people and are a little bit different than like the more health goals that we usually talk about. Like, I can bore everyone to death about your heart attack risk in 10 years time. That's not really as important as the things that matter to you.
Yeah.
And flexibility has a lot to do with those things. So it's like, how do we measure what's effective? Well, we calibrate it to what's important to you. So if your goal, like Samir was talking about, is to go snorkeling or to go hiking or to just be able to deal with your grandkids and have the energy and flexibility to do that without having a fear of falling or injuring yourself, well, that's important enough, and we'll get you there.
Yes.
And so this calibration to those goals are important, and flexibility has a lot to do with that, which is why you see a lot of, I'm Indian, so it's like, I'm just going to say this is funny. My mom always used to tell me, like, in Indian culture, like yoga is part of our culture and meditation and breathing. And I was like, whatever, when I was younger, you're just this rebellious kid and you're like, that stuff doesn't matter. Okay. Ended up, she was right. Who knew? Right. So like, and you see this now, like yoga and meditation and these flexibility type of programs and exercises actually are super important. So who knew? They were actually, my parents were right. I'm realizing this. I had to go to medical school and work with people like Samir to figure this out. So yes, a long answer to your question, but yes, very important. Flexibility is important.
And I think during this pandemic, more and more, I know this is true of me, I sit way too much. And my steps, especially during that first lockdown in March of 2020, my steps were dramatically reduced because, we were all locked up in our homes. But I often hear about the sitting and how detrimental sitting is to your health. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yes. And it's great that you asked this question, because recently I was reading this book by Daniel Lieberman called Exercised. And I could not agree more with him. He mentions that sitting is the new smoking only in the Western world. And it's not a problem in the Eastern world because we sit on the ground to eat.
Yeah.
So for us, sitting while eating is also an exercise because we are engaging our core to keep it stable and straight when we are sitting down. We do all forms of activities sitting down or squatting that we don't do here. And so really sitting is not the new smoking. It's just how you sit. Why not sit on the ground without any back support for 15 minutes? That itself is a form of exercise.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat, and people always ask me, was it hard not to talk? I was like, no, it was hard to sit on the floor. That was the challenge. Oh my goodness. And, it was so funny. Everybody who was, born in North America, we would try to get as many pillows as possible to create a chair on the floor. But you're absolutely right. Sitting on the floor is flexibility, it's strength, it's engaging so many of the core muscles. So
my grandma always has the best advice. She used to say, if you sit on the floor and eat, you will always eat less.
True, because it's uncomfortable. So this is a question we ask of all of our guests. Obesity Matters. We're a new advocacy group, and we are all about improving the health and well-being of our community. Do you have any suggestions for us or anything you've learned as you've developed your community?
I think one thing is that, just identify what makes you happy and how you want to attain your health goals. That's the most important thing. And just don't look at anybody else.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. All the Insta stories and all those things that you see, they don't really matter.
Yeah,
and
I would second
on our bodies. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
No, you're right, Sandra. And I would agree completely with Samir on that. And also I would say you don't have to be perfect, right? Over the course of, let's say, 30 days or 3 months or a year, just do your best. Try to make better health decisions and more good health decisions than suboptimal ones. And you'll see results and you'll see change and you'll feel better. Compare yourself to you last week. Like Samir said, not to somebody else on Instagram or a commercial or something like that. Compare yourself to you. See how you're doing, how you feel. That's important. I think sometimes in medicine, we over rotate on concentrating on things like the angle that your knee can bend or how many steps you're doing. And it's like the organ that matters the most is the brain, and the biomarker of what we measure from the brain is how we feel. And so how we feel, us doctors sometimes forget that that's just as important as anything else. So compare yourself to you, go slow. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect. Just do your best.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, I saw a big change in myself when I decided that I could try something and totally suck. And it allowed me to try things and find out what brought me happiness. So really great advice. Now is the question period. The floor is now open for audience questions. We're going to alternate between live questions and the ones in the chat box in order of relevance. And we encourage you to turn on your camera when you're ready to ask your question, introduce yourself, let us know where you're tuning in from. You can raise your hand electronically on Zoom and or put it in the chat box. So the floor is now open for those questions. Rosie, I'm going to check in with you first. Any questions in the chat box?
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for that presentation and discussion. I would like to start off with the first, I think, question that relates most to the app in terms of, I guess people are wondering, how do you use the app and what are the terms of use? So is there a cost associated with this app? What kind of feedback can you give people who haven't used the app before?
Yes, there is cost associated with the program. So we are opening up a couple of tiers. One is like try it for 7 days where you get access to the coach, you can talk to them. And I can send all the details to Preeti after this call, so all of you have access to that. And then other is prepaid for the entire 3 months. So if you are really highly motivated and you want to do it, then we can get you onboarded. The entire app is web-based, so you can open up, you can look at your programs and everything on your browser. The reason why we went with the web-based initially is not everybody has these high-end smartphones, and we give them cool features, they won't be able to do it. So we already created one more barrier in between. Oh, now I need to have this to do this.
Thank you. Could you give a range of costs just so we have some idea?
Yeah, so we have a very, pretty much a heavily discounted early price of $250 for 3 months for anybody who signs up in the next few, days.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm just scanning for any raised hands. If you're struggling to raise your hand virtually, you can just unmute yourself and say, I have a question, and we'll catch you that way as well. Sometimes people have a hard time finding the feature, like myself. Rosie, any other questions from the chat box?
I have a direct message that was sent to us. And the question is, for someone who has joint pain, knee and wrist especially, what are the best types of exercises to do?
Well, we cannot be giving any medical advice here, but I think general knee flexion extension or any of the exercises that increase the range are best suited. And they can send us a message on Anuka Health, and I'll be happy to chat with them later.
Anything else in the chat box?
Don't think so, not yet, but please feel free. That's not true. I just saw one now. How to participate in limited access program?
Yeah, I will be sending the materials to Preeti. So it's anukahealth.com/move. And when you click on meet with the coach, you just have to fill a short form, and we would set up a meeting with you after that.
Wonderful. Corinne, your hand is up. Please unmute yourself and let us know where you're tuning in from.
Hi, Corinne from Ottawa. Great presentation, although my Zoom cut out for part of it, so I'll review it afterwards. My question is about how to motivate yourself. I saw something in there and part of the app when you showed it about journaling, but it's like going to sign up to Movati or something else. You know, maybe you're enthusiastic at the beginning and then you kind of say, I'm really, oh, well, I'm too tired to go, or I'm this or that. Because the other aspect is, you said the brain matters the most. So with the brain mattering the most and motivating yourself, and, you know, and you said there are coaches, but I'm just wondering, how do you motivate yourself to even get going?
Yes, yes. And that's where the shared accountability is, because the first form of motivation is that knowing that there's an expert who's there to help you out. And if you're even having a day where you don't feel that strongly motivated, you can just send a message to your coach and have a quick interaction with them. So your interaction with the coach doesn't always have to be about exercise.
Ravi, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, this is a really good question. And I think I have definitely struggled with this. All of us struggle with it. It's the question of like, it sounds exciting and shiny and new in the beginning, but hey, when I've tried things before, I tend to fall off after 30 days. This is the January 1st problem, right? We all set these goals for the year, and then all of a sudden it's February and I'm eating Hershey's Hugs. And I'm like, what happened? So it happens. It happens to all of us. Here's kind of a general approach without getting into details. So Samir had mentioned these functional goals. I call them captivators. They're motivators that are captivating to you. And what that's going to be for you is different from me. So like I am working with Samir on this at Anuka and working on delivering something similar here in the United States. And so like what captivates me to exercising is like, well, I better do it because I better set a good example. Like it'd be hard for me to give advice and not be able to do that. So that's just motivating to me. Being able to delineate those things by writing them down and journaling is really important. And those can help you during those times when you need that willpower, because willpower is important. So being really intentional and thoughtful about your day and why you want to do things, you can remind yourself of those things by writing them down. But we all know that doesn't always work too, right? Because willpower is like, it's like we have a finite amount in that water bottle. And it's like when that's poured out, it's like we don't know what's going to happen. So the other set of things you can do, including which includes the things that Samir's talking about with accountability partners and coaches, is set up and architect your environment in a way where you're setting yourself up for success. So like plan for success in ways where you out-engineer bad habits or routines. I'll give you an example. This is where like if I have a bunch of M&Ms in the house, first of all, try not to have them in the house. But if you do and you value M&Ms, which is fine, M&Ms make life worth living. Put them in a container that's not clear. Put them in an opaque container so you can't see them. That just sounds like it shouldn't make a difference, right? But to your brain and all the processing that's going on when you look at things, it does. And you go, I don't have a craving as much this last week as I did before, just from changing things like that. If you can start making those small changes, another one would be, I try to personally avoid going to the grocery store when I'm hungry. I eat first and then go. So these little things like that, how we change our environment, well, that's not very much willpower. That's just, I'm out engineering myself for making a choice that I know I'm going to regret. And so there's a combination of things that fall into those two categories: willpower, intention, thoughtfulness, motivators. And then how do I have these, what I call choice architecture interventions to help with those things? Another thing I'll bring up just really quickly because it's important. Most of us don't live alone. Some do, but some don't. We have kids, grandkids, spouses, and it's worth talking to them and letting them know that you're going to go on this journey and that they're going to most likely help you, right? But let them know. So like my wife doesn't bring in a big bag of, candy and put it in front of me and I'm like, okay, I know you're working on this and I don't want to get you off track. So it's worth having that conversation.
Mm-hmm. I like that idea. I like controlling your environment. I love the idea of having a coach that you can reach out to and really lean on in those moments. And I also just want to touch on the thinking, because Ravi, you spoke about it for a little bit. And I know in my own journey, I was 29 years old, I was 100 pounds overweight, and all I could do was walk 15 minutes. But at first, my thinking would get in the way because I used to think, well, that's pathetic. what's the point? What's 15 minutes going to do? It's embarrassing. It's uncomfortable. And by the time I thought all that, I had completely talked myself out of it. So there is a lot of power in the thinking, because I had to flip it to, I'm proud that I can walk 15 minutes. I'm going to go out there and see if next week it's 16 minutes. And when I get home, I'm going to really congratulate myself. And that the power of all that thinking and momentum actually got me to a place where I could turn the 15-minute walk into a half marathon. But that took 7 years. And so that that's not a sexy transformation. And you never see that on Instagram. But the truth is, that's usually how transformation really looks like. So I'm totally on board with what you guys are doing in your messaging. I see a great question that's come in the chat box, Rosie.
Michelle has put her hand. I don't know if you saw Michelle.
Oh, no, I didn't see. Was it, did she have her camera on? Go ahead, Michelle, and then we'll go to the chat box.
I just want to say what I do.
Yes.
What I do, I've been watching my diet and everything, but every day I go like for a walk. So I do like one day 10 minutes. The next day I'll motivate myself. I'll go 25 minutes and I'll go up and up. So I'm giving myself some, encouragement to go every day more and more. Or if I exercise, I'll say today I'll do 25-minute exercise. Then the next day I'll go 30 or 40. So I'm motivating myself to go every day more and more.
Yeah, very inspiring. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Rosie, there is a question here I'm pretty interested in the chat box.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are there any suggestions for movement activities that can help get to the end goal of being able to get up and down from the floor?
Samir, did you want to start? Yeah.
I can give pointers. Maybe Ravi can finish it off. Typically, when you're sitting down and want to get up, it's you need to strengthen your lower back and your hips, because that's where you have maximum momentum to thrust yourself up. And it's okay if you have to use both your hands to prop yourself up, but as you progress, you would be able to get up without using your hands. Maybe that's a goal you could have. Even I keep that goal to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is a great example of exercises that you do progressively. So you can start standing up, half squats, brace yourself against things like counters, walls, and then finally progress to the floor after you start building up these core muscles. We call proximal muscles, like these big muscle groups. We all have them. We use them so much, we almost forget, like glutes, shoulders, back, abs. These are muscles that are in use all the time. They just need a little bit of endurance and fitness. And you can do a bunch of exercises like that, where you're doing like a quarter squat or a half squat with your hands forward on a countertop. You don't have to go all the way down yet. And as you build strength and endurance, you'll be able to eventually get to that point where you can support yourself. I think there's really two aspects to things like getting off the floor. One is fear. We don't want to fall. And we're scared of like failing and falling and be like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? So have someone there, have support, let other professionals know that you're attempting to do this. And coaching and apps are great. But if you need someone there, like a physical therapist, get one, right? So I don't want to say that we're the magic kind of solution for everything. And the second is the actual strengthening and endurance, which will work.
Great, thank you. Very functional. I almost feel like that could be a workout of its own. I'm going to be on the floor and get up 5 times. And I'd be, I could be done for the day almost with that. That was a great question. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for the information about your program. I'm curious about how the connection piece works with having kind of a buddy or someone else that is encouraging you in the program. Can you give us an example of how that works?
Yes, so currently it would be a coach. So we are still experimenting who that buddy would be like. So we will be creating social profiles and understand, if they have like a certain common goal or common abilities that they want to share, or common exercises that they want to do together, and we would pair them up. Most important things that we look for is like, they're able to actually partner up and work with each other.
Thank you. Go ahead, Priti.
Yes, I had a question. Samir, when you and I were talking, you said that this program had sort of two components where one could have a one-on-one with the coach, and then there was also a form where you could have group sessions. So could you sort of just expand on how the group sessions work and how the one-on-one works?
Yes, yes. So for this current Move with Confidence program, we are not introducing any group sessions. We're going to keep them one-on-one. And once you're into week 2 or 3 of the program, we will try to identify a buddy or a partner with whom you could also exercise with. So if there is the need for a group session, then both of you can have one with the coach. Otherwise, we try to keep it one-on-one so that we are more focused towards the goal that you have come for.
Thank you.
You mentioned a client testimonial you wanted to share. Did you want to do that now, Samir?
I think we can share it as part of the links because we put together a nice little blurb. We'll send it across.
Okay, great. All right, so the floor is open for questions. Just scanning here.
If I can pose a question to the group, just going on what we were talking about earlier, it can be intimidating to start any new exercise program, and people have different concerns. And I'm just curious, what kind of experiences have people had here in the group when you've tried new things with exercise? What good and bad things have come up? I'd love to just kind of hear from everybody to see, because the definition of an expert is someone who's failed at everything really well, and that's definitely me. So I've probably also had similar failures, but would love to hear from everybody and what they've tried and what's worked and what hasn't.
Yeah. Please put the comments in the chat box, or you can always tell us live as well. I mean, I know I can answer that. I remember, I won't mention the chain, but I hired a personal trainer at a certain chain, and I feel that they pushed me to do exercises that caused injury because maybe they were inexperienced or maybe they're training. But I did certain exercises and I paid for it. They were with a kettlebell, or not the kettlebell, the ones that you swing on. Is that what they're called?
That's a kettlebell.
Kettlebell, yeah. Those can be really harmful if it's too heavy or your form isn't good. And so that experience did shy me away for a while. I think that's why your app is so important, having that professional, like you said, taking pictures, being able to send them in on your form. But did anybody else have any kind of experiences like that? Oh, I see some coming in. Do you want to read them, Rosie?
There's a comment from Pat K that there is no consistent follow through. Pat, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that? I don't know if Pat's having problems with her mic, but
hi.
Oh, hi Pat, thank you.
Yeah, generally I'll start something and I'll really gung-ho, and then I just kind of peter off, and it's just a videotape on the shelf or a dog leash in the corner, and so that's the thing that always stops me.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. Another experience is, my best experience was with a kinesiologist with experience working with people living with obesity and extra weight. That's a positive experience. Another comment is, I do an exercise program on Facebook almost every day at 10 a.m. on Facebook. Another comment is, I'm committed for the first bit, but if I don't plan it, put it on a schedule or have a friend do it with me, it dies off. So linking back a little bit to Pat's comment about consistency and follow through. We have another comment. The trainer wouldn't listen when I was scared to try a movement and I got hurt. That's disappointing. Another comment, I have joined various exercise activities and have injured myself, and by the time I have recovered, I have lost my drive. And the last comment I have here so far is, there's a body of work that believes the adage of no pain, no gain, which causes an aversion to exercise in general.
Yeah.
There's a few more comments coming in. Would you like to comment on any of those experiences that I've shared so far?
Yeah, I think these are all really familiar, and I can definitely empathize with the people who've had some of these bad experiences, and I'm sorry you had them, because they're definitely avoidable. And this is what I was talking about earlier about the pain and discomfort, right? Discomfort is a part of just soreness, a little bit of when you start an exercise program. You definitely don't want to push people into a spot where they're going to hurt themselves and have pain. And this is where I think Anuka's program is really good, because you have some supervision and you have the right amount of push and pull. All of us have mentored people in the past, so we can all relate to how tricky it is sometimes to know when to push and when to pull. And sometimes when you get that wrong, you can overstep. And overstepping in this case with exercise is bad because you can get people hurt. So it's better to go slower and really aim for consistency so people don't fall off. And you will see results even going slower.
Yeah, I had a question about aging. So again, there's this idea out there that people turn 50 and they're like, I'm in the best shape of my life. And they turn 60 and they're in the best shape of their life. But realistically, I know in my own journey, I've had to let go of certain exercises. For example, running. I had to let go of that because it doesn't work for my body anymore. But I do have a lot of guilt about that, because I feel like, no, I should be in the best shape of my life now. How do you help people navigate aging and either letting go of some exercises or bringing in different kinds because of the aging process?
Yes. I think the most important thing, like we have reiterated before, is also understanding what the goal itself is, right? Because aging is, it's inevitable.
Yes.
And it's a matter of understanding, I want to be able to do a certain activity, or I want to be able to strengthen my back, or I want to make sure I don't become arthritic in the future. Maybe that's basically another reason why what motivates them, right? When you're in your 50s and your 60s, your risk for joint diseases is very high. So it's a matter of understanding that and mapping that back to certain activities that they enjoy to do, and creating an environment that gets them to do that more frequently.
So is it a good idea to let go of running as someone ages?
If you can still run, you don't have any issues, then why should you let it go?
I see. Yes. Rosie, any more comments we should share?
There's lots of comments. Again, more feedback on people's excellent experience. There was one about as an adult group, efforts or activities have been very intimidating, and I have felt very self-conscious and not successful. My best experience has been with a one-on-one coach in Pilates class, where she really helped me start where I am at. And another comment was chair yoga works best for me when the yoga studio is open. Of course, depending on where you are across the country, you have different restrictions, of course, and things are opening up in Ontario, hopefully. I find with me, I like to do things that are fun. It is more like a game. If it's more like a game, I do better. And the last comment we have so far is I practiced Tai Chi for flexibility and balance for 4 years, twice a week. When I stopped attending formal practices with a group, I found I was unable to maintain what had been a 4 to 6 times a week practice. The contact with other people and the leadership in those classes seems to have been an essential part of this exercise.
This is great feedback.
I think I see some themes during these comments. It's like, and I can definitely say this is important for me as well. Structure is really important. When left to my own devices, it's hard to stay motivated and do anything. I need some kind of formal structure, whether it's literally a invite on my calendar app on my computer, an app on my phone, something where I know I have to show up or I'm going to let other people down. That can be an important thing. And like the Tai Chi classes where you just have formal structure, other people are waiting for you there. They're going to be like, hey, where's Ravi? He's not here today. Yeah, that's important.
I also empathize with Kathleen's comment. This is something we have heard repeatedly. Like you go to a class and you figure out that 60% or 70% of the class is actually not for you. And you really can't undo that because you're already in the class. And this is something we have also heard repeatedly. And that's why when we created Anuka, we wanted that to be an experience where people are aware of each other's abilities and they're not judging each other based on that. And they're also able to have an enjoyable experience because you're probably given an exercise program that works for you or that works for those 2 or 3 individuals that are part of it.
Great. Well, before we wrap up, do you have any final words for us? We'll start with Ravi and then we'll end with you, Samir.
Well, just wanted to say thank you for allowing me access to all these wonderful people. And it really makes me feel very good to know that everyone here is here because they care, right? They really care. And that is the most important step. And that I wish you well on your health journeys. All of you, you can do it. Believe in yourselves, go slow, don't have to push through pain. Think about not what you can't do, but all the different exercises and behavior change things that you can do. There's a million recipes, there's a million exercises. Well, it's just really a function of just finding the right ones. And that's doable.
Great. And Samir?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. You guys have been a wonderful audience. And we hope to help you, and we hope to see you with us and help you attain your health goals.
Thank you. Ravi, I got a private message here. Can you give more tips on architecture design for the future blog?
Yeah, I don't have an exhaustive list on me, but I can, is there a way or a forum where we can chat further on that, where I can give more details? But there's a bunch of these things that we do, like not eating late at night, keeping the fridge clean, yeah, so on and so forth. That help with various aspects of coaching. So not just exercise, for example, but nutrition. For example, exercise, one thing I can give a tip really easily. This is going to sound weird, but this makes a difference for me and the clients we've worked with. Just putting the shoes and socks that you use to run or exercise, like ready to go the night before, because I will talk myself out of exercising the next morning, right? So I'm like, oh, I got to go get the socks. I don't know where the socks are. Oh, they're downstairs in the dryer. Oh, for God's sakes. Okay. But when I see them next to the door and all my exercise clothes are laid out, I'm like, I have really no excuse to, I'm going to go. So just taking those little barriers and planning for success the night before, it takes 5 minutes. And it really allows me the next morning, I'm like, well, I'm so glad I did that. So that's one that really works for me.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we offer our sincere thanks to Ravi and Samir for generously giving us your time today. For me, my biggest takeaway was do what makes you happy, because that will become intrinsically motivating, and totally let go of no pain, no gain. Rachel?
I have 2 things, actually. I think, we touched on flexibility being a platform for being able to move when, as we age. And so I really want to put some focus on that. And the other thing is I am totally going to try sitting on the floor while I'm eating. And I love the idea that, possibly that'll help me be a little bit more conscious about how much I'm eating as well. So thanks for that tip. That's really a cool one to try.
Yes, thank you. So get involved as a member of Obesity Matters community. We'll be sending out a survey and would appreciate you completing it so we continue to build programs that you recommend. Some of our members have alerted us that emails have landed in their junk box, so please make sure to check. If you don't see anything by end of day today, check your junk folder. This ends the summer series of Eat, Play, Love. We hope that you've enjoyed the series, and we look forward to hosting you again in September. While we are not charging you for these sessions, we would appreciate any donation that you can make by simply going to our website at obesity-matters.com. So from everyone here at Obesity Matters, we wish you a wonderful summer filled with happiness, filled with confident moving, and just filled with safety and pleasure. And we'll see you in September. Bye, everybody.